long before Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and the ability to stream movies, TV shows on any device of your pleasure, there was those discount movie theaters, you know, the ones for $1.50. Those are one of the few topics that my next guest and I talk about, along with Mall of America, hippies in Minnesota. Welcome to Walt's Kitchen Table, where I feature captivating stories from fascinating people. Shae, very talented artist out of Brooklyn, explains his artwork, art school, and sculptures that are inspired through ancient Egypt and Greece. Let's get to it. When you're talking in it, you know, you talk here, but, you know, you can pull away and stuff. I can still hear you.
Okay.
But there's no editing.
Right.
I'm not going to edit this. I don't edit them at all.
Cool.
The only thing I do is adjust the volume a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I'm talking louder than you are at some point, you know. So, when you're listening to it on the radio, you're not like, what the fuck? Hey, turn that down.
Right,
you know?
right.
And then it gets real quiet. And then you're like, oh, turn it up. And then it gets real loud. And
So are these two audio signals recorded on separate tracks then?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
they're,
cool.
Yeah, they're definitely separate tracks. Mark...
Brody?
No.
Pulowski?
Pulowski helped me set this up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he come down one day and we, let me turn my volume down on my phone here. He come down one day and helped me set it up, and then this is just somebody asked me about my setup and starting this thing,
Yeah.
the podcast, you know, and I was like, I got the idea, and I got on Amazon and got an all package thing with everything in it.
Oh, cool. So it came with all the equipment.
Yeah, plugged in my computer. I had to add, they didn't come with the cords here for the mics.
Mm-hmm.
And then I added this arm on yours. Because
Okay.
what I was finding out is for you to be comfortable over there, like I don't mind this here, because this is what came with the mic.
I'm going to talk to my mom and tell me when it's bothering you.
Okay, all right, thanks. But like some guys, bigger guys were in your seat,
Yeah.
and they're sitting there hunched over this thing, and they were getting uncomfortable, so the arm...
That makes
you
sense.
can move that around so it's like you can get closer to
Cool.
you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And then somebody's like, did you take like a class and do this and do that? And ask me all these questions. I go, fuck no, dude. I bought some stuff, plugged in my computer, started yelling in this mic, and this is where we're at. I don't believe in analysis paralysis.
That's an excellent, yeah.
Just do it, man.
Yep.
Just fuck, dude. You could spend 6 months trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And if you listen to some of the earlier episodes, the sound is horrible. Like on my podcast.
Yeah.
You know, because my dad was like afraid of the mic, so he's like talking way over here like this, and then you get the echo of the room, and it's like,
Right,
no, Dad,
right.
you need to talk on the mic up here, and he's like, well, you know, but it's all good. It's all good. So thanks for coming out, dude.
Yeah, man.
And you were from Brooklyn?
I travel from Brooklyn. Yep.
How long you lived in Brooklyn?
5 years. In total. Are we rolling right now, or?
We've been rolling.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. See, that's the point. You never know when I'm recording.
Cool.
I was hoping to catch some little nuggets there when you
that's
didn't
good,
know we
that's
were
good.
recording.
Yeah, so I've lived in Brooklyn for 5 years, but total I've lived there a little over 7 years because right after high school I moved from my hometown of Minneapolis to...
Oh, that's right. You're from...
Yeah, so I went to school in New York for 2 years directly after high school. Then I did the move back to Minneapolis thing.
What'd you do? What'd you go to school for?
Fine arts.
Fine arts?
Yep.
Oh, we'll get into that because you create some pretty cool stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so I was in New York for 2 years. Then I was like, I think I was overwhelmed by the culture shock of moving from...
Well, the thing is, though, were you in Minneapolis or were you in like a small town around Minneapolis?
I was in Minneapolis, like proper.
But going from Minneapolis to the city, I mean, probably
Yeah.
a pretty big change, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're both like, definitely both cities, definitely. I mean, Minneapolis has I think, a fair amount of culture for being a Midwestern city, but just the concentration of just like people and buildings.
In New York, you mean?
Yeah.
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 Now, is Minneapolis where the Mall of America is?
That's right.
Oh. I went there. I used to be on a traveling broomball team. You know what broomball is?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
from you're from up there. You probably know what broomball
course.
is. And we used to go up there like once a year and play in this tournament. And we go to Mall of America. And then, is it true that there's like prostitutes and stuff walking around the Mall of America?
You know, I don't think I ever saw one, but
You wouldn't know, so that's a good thing. They're doing
yeah,
their job,
but
right?
I mean, there was always so much shit going down there. Like, I don't know, gang shit would happen and
in the mall.
Yeah, because it's such a huge space, and I mean, if you're looking for a place to loiter, and it's like negative 15 degrees outside.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's warm inside and got everything you need, right?
Yeah,
Including tourists to rob.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I
there
can
were
see
like
that.
bars. There's like a big Hooters on the top level. That
You a Hooters fan?
you know, I've actually never been.
What?
Yeah.
The quote unquote. This is quotes. The food is good. No, actually, the food's fucking horrible. But anyway.
I've heard people say the wings are good. I've never
wings are
actually
good.
been.
I like the drummies at Hooters, but you know, just like anything else, you know, you got the good and the bad.
Yeah.
You know, the concept of it's pretty good, but some of the locations, the way they execute it, we're going to stick to that. So.
Cool.
Wasn't there a couple years ago a guy applied for a waitress job there and they denied him and he sued him for
Oh, I didn't hear
gender
about
or
that.
something? God, I think that was a couple. That's why I need a production assistant to look this shit up while I'm
Like
while
on
we
the
talk
fly?
about- yeah, sitting over here
Teach
typing them.
your cat to use the computer.
that'd
You
be
know.
great. Well, I had a guest not too long ago. She taught her cat to use the toilet.
I've heard people do that successfully, where their cats will just go and
Well, the process of doing that,
yeah.
yeah, I don't
You
know.
you buy like a set that comes with toilet seats of like their little covers of different sizes, and you basically like work your way from like
Yeah, the way she described it was, you put the litter box next to the toilet, and then you put stuff under it, and you raise it very gradually over the next couple weeks, so they have to climb up into it, and then eventually it's to the level of your toilet.
yeah.
Right, and then you take the kitty litter and put it under the seat.
Oh.
So they get used to jumping on there and it being under the seat, and they're digging
Yeah.
in it, and then eventually you just take the kitty litter out and. What the fuck, dude? Could you imagine sitting here and be like, "Hey, did you flush the toilet?"
Yeah, that's what I would be like weirded out if I walked in and there was just a little cat turd floating in
Floating there. She said the reason she stopped it was she felt bad because the cat's like digging on the toilet seat to like bury it because it's instinct, right?
right.
Because like our cats, you know, for some weird reason, for no reason at all, they'll just start like scratching on our wood floor,
Yeah.
acting like they're burying something, and she
Yep.
felt bad for the cat, so she's like, "Nah, put it back in."
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's natural for a cat to claw it, dig it, or bury it. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. My cat does the same thing. When I put out food, I have it on a little table, and basically, like, I can't have anything else on the table because if there's something sitting next to the food, she will try and sweep whatever's
Away
on the
from your
table
food?
onto the food to like cover it up. I think she's trying to save it or something, but it's like I put down some papers. You know, I'm like, oh, these will be fine, and then it's just like.
She buries her
soaked
food.
in yeah she buries her food. It's like, you know, papers get soaked in juicy cat food, and I'm like, okay, this isn't
Now, does your cat, you feed her like her or him?
her.
Yeah. Lenore?
Lenore.
Do you feed her like? Are you one that you put so much food out a day, or do you put a pile of food like our cats? For an example, you can see
Yeah.
we just leave a pile of food there, and they eat when they're hungry.
Yeah. With her, I do, since she's like an indoor cat, and I'm like, she's not running around too much. I mean, I play with her and stuff to give her exercise, but
Of course,
she's not wrestling with other cats. So it's like, I don't want to feed her too much because she's already like, she's not fat, but she's, you know, she's got the little cat pouch stomach, you know.
One of ours does too.
Yeah, so I feed her like a set amount of wet food and then just a set amount of dry food every day.
So then, how did you get her as a kitten?
Yeah.
See, like, use our cats for an example. When we went to get a cat, we're not home a lot.
Yeah.
So we decided to get 2 cats, and we did one of those clear your shelter days, where you go and you get it for
Oh,
free,
cool. Okay.
And we got sisters because we knew that we weren't going to be home a lot.
Sure.
And I didn't want to leave one cat kind of by himself or herself and then be a pain in the ass when I get home.
Right.
So they keep each other company. Do you run into that to where she's kind of clingy?
I've thought about that. In the past, she's lived with other animals. So for a while, she was living with like another cat. At another time, it was like another cat and multiple dogs. And she always did fine with the other animals, but I don't know. She's very kind of like, it almost feels like she's like another person rather than a cat. So it feels like her social time, she's more interested in hanging out with other people as compared to like
That's
other
cool.
cats.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely considered it because, yeah.
Because you're gone a lot too, right?
Well, for a while I was going to the office for my job, but for the past, I don't know, for a while now I've been participating in like a remote working pilot, so I get to actually work from home.
Oh, you like that, huh? Especially in the city. How
Yeah.
long was the commute?
Commute was about an hour each way. Yeah.
So it's 2 hours a day.
Yeah, it's been awesome working from home.
See, I can't work from home. I'm one of those guys. I can't.
Yeah.
I separate my job but I was 20 years out in Colorado. I was almost 20 years with Coca-Cola and
Yeah.
I went to the office. And then when I was done, I went home and I was, you could separate that.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got used to that. So I like not.
I definitely, there is like, I think there's like a importance to keeping kind of like a hygiene if you're going to be working at home, because it's like, it's really easy for those things to bleed together where you're
absolutely. Now,
So
do you have a workspace like you can separate it?
I have like a separate work computer, so I'll jump onto that computer. I have a like big monitor that I use for some like art stuff.
Oh,
so I
okay.
use my monitor and then I have my work computer, and that's good enough for me. I can
Now, do you
kinda-
like just crash out on the couch or put it in your lap, or you got a table?
No,
or
I
something?
gotta sit. I gotta sit at a table.
Yeah.
If I'm on the couch, I'm like,
What's on Netflix?
yeah, or my body just relaxes, and I'm like, my eyes start getting heavy, and
Yeah. Well, no, you sit at a table, you just get really productive for a while and get it done, and then you can move on to something else.
yeah.
Yeah.
And consume lots of caffeine.
And I love
That- that also helps.
Yeah, I am a cat. Yeah, that's my. I love caffeine. How do you? What's your caffeine consumption?
So I usually start with French press in the morning. Really strong, kind of like medium dark roast.
See, I'm not a coffee guy, so you're speaking a foreign
Well,
language to me right now.
I'm sure I'll
Yeah, some
hit
people
up.
are gonna be like, "Fuck that," or "That's amazing."
Well, I'm sure I'll hit up like one of your caffeine interests, because I usually drink coffee, but then I like black tea in the afternoon or green tea in the afternoon, and then I also found some tea. I think it's originally from like South America in the Amazon. It's called yerba mate. Yeah, and it's like
a green tea, a black tea. What'd you say?
it's a caffeinated plant, but it's not green or black tea. It's like its own thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
cool.
think it's in like the holly family or something weird.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how'd you come across that? Somebody.
Oh man, I honestly don't remember. I'm like years and years ago. I worked at a couple different natural foods, like health food stores. So they were always getting in, the next weird thing.
Yeah, of course.
Which I
of
love.
course.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, I'll try that. Yeah. So the way that this yerba mate was originally consumed, and it's still consumed like this in South America, is you get this little hollowed out gourd, like dried gourd. So it's like a little
Okay.
bowl, and you
How big is it? Like a
about the
grapefruit, maybe?
about the size of a baseball, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, the top is cut off, so it's really just like this little cup, and then you pack it almost to the top with dried yerba mate. And then you have this, I mean, it's like, it's weird. It's almost like if someone saw you drinking it, people would be like, what weird drug are you doing?
So this is how you still consume it to this day?
No, now I'll just put it in a French press or something.
Okay.
But I do have one of those gourds. But then what you get this little metal straw that it basically has like a screen in it, and you stick that in, and then you pour hot water over, and the special straw filters out the plant material from like
Right,
going
you
into
just
your
get the
mouth.
liquid.
Yeah. So then you just keep pouring hot water into this little cup, so you're re-steeping it. So
Seems
it's
like a lot of work.
it does. Yeah, I mean that's why I use like tea bags now. But I mean, when you first start drinking it, like you've had like a strong cup of tea or coffee or whatever.
See,
But
I'm past all that.
this is like the first sip out of this little cup is like that's caffeine. It really
Okay,
kicks
so
your butt.
I'll give you a comparison.
Okay.
Does your face and fingertips go numb when you drink it?
Not that I've noticed.
So
what exactly are you doing?
Yeah, right. No, I have. So most of the time, it's just a pre-workout from a company called Legion.
Okay.
The only time I drink it is probably 60% before I go work out. Right. So there's some times I don't use it every time. Right. But
Yeah.
when I'm looking for another gear, you just kind of like, I got to get to the gym, but I need a little help.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then
Huh.
there's some energy drinks out there
Yeah.
that they're different brands and stuff, but there's 2 or 3 that I just like the taste of them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them that like you taste them and they taste like freaking kerosene.
Yeah. And they're like the color of kerosene.
Yeah, you're just like, God, this is terrible. But there's a couple brands that I like that. Again, I just enjoy them and the activities I do. And
Sometimes you need a little.
Yeah, well, that and it just they give me pleasure.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it.
That's
And
an
they do-
important thing.
Yeah, emotionally or if it's a placebo, amazing. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
it works.
That's the whole
right?
thing about
That's it.
placebos is they work.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. So no, I enjoy it, but you said you got a big screen for art. Let's get into what you're doing and how you got that started. I know
Yeah.
a little bit, and like to know more.
Yeah, so I've been making art my whole life, and I guess I kind of first started getting serious when I was in high school. So I went to a Montessori school for like the first, what was it, from I want to say like first grade to 8th grade. So Montessori school is like a more hands-on learning style.
Okay.
Very like kind of like touchy-feely. What you would picture like a school run by hippies, basically.
Okay. All right.
But it was
And this
a-
is in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
No, there are a lot of hippies in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah. All right.
Tons.
All right. I just don't see. Like when you first think of Minnesota, you don't think of hippies.
Right.
You think of snow and hockey and.
Yeah. That's one thing. It's interesting. There's this real interesting kind of like paradox of culture being within the city itself, and then you drive out into the country and it's like
180.
yeah, truly.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I went to this Montessori school, and it was like very much encouraged in the arts and stuff.
Well, how'd you end up there instead of like? So that's not considered a public school.
Wasn't a
then?
public school, no.
Okay, so instead of going to public school, how'd you end up there?
I guess my folks like found the school and decided that they wanted my sister and I to go there.
Now, did you show a interest in art, and they're like, you know what, it'd be better if he goes to this school instead of public school to drive his art? Like,
I honestly don't know which came first, because I know that I was like introduced to art at a very early age, so that was like, it's almost like that was like a value that was impressed upon me that I kind of grabbed onto.
Yep.
So anyway, I had this like elementary school experience of like definitely being able to make art. Then I finished 8th grade and I went to a public school in Minneapolis, which was, I mean, like that was a bit of a culture shock for me because
Well,
I was like,
I went to an upstate New York public school, so I got you, man. I know where you're feeling. It's
yeah,
about
and I
the
mean
same.
like, I'm not complaining. It was more
No,
like
no,
it was more
I'm
like
not-
I
I
was
don't-
coming from this very like kind of like sequestered, safe environment, and then I'm like,
So,
oh wait, this is actually how the world is.
Yeah, you didn't do yoga and shit during lunch at public school.
Right. Yeah, so that was a tough transition. Plus, I was like, just like physically going through that whole awkward phase of puberty.
For some reason, my software stops every once in a while. So, what you didn't hear just a minute ago, Shae was saying he was a puberty awkward skinny kid.
Yeah. Well,
I had to recap that. So
yeah, that was important detail. So I went from being this like skinny kid to like I was like the textbook definition of husky, just
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah. So and like I was just physically awkward.
It was that public school lunch that you ate instead of all that.
True, very true.
Yeah. So at the first school you went to, you're eating like rice and lettuce and that kind of thing, and tofu, and then you go to public school and you
Right.
eat chicken sandwiches and tater tots
Yeah.
and chocolate milk.
Spend my pocket money on junk food,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so needless to say, like the first 2 years of high school were like it was a bit of a challenge. I was not the most comfortable. But what ended up happening was there's a public state-funded art school in Minnesota that's basically open to anybody of high school age in the state. It's for juniors and seniors, and you have to apply to this high school to get in.
Oh,
So
nice.
I applied to that for visual arts because there's like visual arts, dance, music. I got into that
I
school.
didn't put you as a dancer.
Yeah,
Yeah. What was there some kind of like what was the application process? Was it like make something and
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
it?
It was.
Oh,
It
cool.
was actually. You had to present a portfolio, and then I remember I went in and met some of the teachers, and then they had us do like some. They gave us some materials, and they were like, "Just make something, right here."
Ah, no
Yeah.
shit. Give you a pile of stuff and like hit a timer and be like, you got 30 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool.
No
It was
pressure.
like, it was fun, and so I got into that school, and it was like, just from where I had been previously, like in the Montessori school, going to this arts high school was like, it just felt like so much a better fit. It was
okay.
basically all like it was like all the weird kids from the entire state who didn't quite feel like they fit in at their
They're at the art school
respective
now.
high school. Yeah, they're like they just flock to this this
but
arts high school.
If they can go somewhere it sounds like you did and like chisel away at your passion and what you're good at.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Well,
that's cool.
And what's even more awesome is that I'm friends with a lot of these people still. Not close friends, but a lot of the people I went to high school with are still making art or they're making music, and the
cool.
school really was this like awesome stepping
Catalyst
stone.
just to
Yeah.
nice.
I still talk to my visual arts teacher on Facebook.
Oh really?
Yeah,
that's
it's super cool.
You just had a buddy move over here to New York.
Yep.
Did he go to that same
He did,
school?
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
that's cool.
We were visual arts buddies.
Oh,
And,
okay.
And he's an illustrator, really talented guy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
And then how many years was that school?
that was junior and senior year,
Okay.
and then graduated and went to New York for 2 years.
What brought you? I mean, obviously school, right? Brought
Yeah.
you- was that your driving force to come to New York? Was the school, or you're just like
Yeah, I think it was the
from a
school.
Woody Allen movie? You're like, I'm going to New York.
I think that was a bit of it too. Just like it just seemed like kind of like the biggest step I could take at the time. Was like it seems fun and adventurous.
Oh, I love that. So, did you just like throw everything in a backpack and come out, or did you have a plan?
I think my sister.
Thumb in the wind.
I think my sister was moving out to Boston at the same time, so I think I went with my sister and my folks, and we just drove out together, and
They dropped you off along the way, or
yeah,
on the way back,
Something like
Depending
that, yeah.
depending on
yeah, because my sister, she's living in Minneapolis now with her family, but she lived in Boston and then Northampton, Massachusetts for a while. So
Did you know anybody in New York or?
no.
That's awesome, dude. Good for
Yeah.
you. I love hearing about adventures like that.
Oh yeah, it was.
I've
It was
done a
fun.
couple of those, but yeah, you just end up somewhere and make it work.
Oh, actually, this is kind of a crazy story about being at. So I went to Pratt for 2 years in Brooklyn, which is an art school.
Okay.
And when I was there, I kept seeing this guy, and I was like, "Why does that guy look so familiar?" He's another student, my age.
Yeah.
I kept seeing him, and I think it was like one night someone pulled the fire alarm in the dorms or something because people were always doing that shit.
Of course.
And so everyone's standing outside. They're just like, it's cold or whatever. And I see this guy, and it clicks that he was a friend of mine from like probably when I was in like 3rd grade. Not from elementary school, but I would take art classes at this little community center.
Yeah.
And he was
Out
like
in Minnesota.
in Minnesota,
Okay.
yeah. And this guy was like my best buddy who I would take these art classes with.
Right.
And he just by chance ended
Ends
up
up at Pratt?
ends up at Pratt, at the same time I'm there. And I was like, Mike? He's like, oh my God. And then from there it was like, I mean, we hadn't seen each other in probably, I don't know, 10 years maybe? Yeah. Probably 10 years.
And then you
maybe.
joined at the hip at that point, huh?
Yeah, I'm still super good friends with the guy.
Oh, that's cool.
And and we used to make like, we're in this little community art center taking classes together. We would make just like the most like foul, tasteless art together.
Oh yeah, God. See, you can't just leave that hanging. You gotta
Oh,
give
it's
me an
beautiful.
example.
I remember, and we had an awesome teacher who I think he probably encouraged it just because he was so entertained by like seeing the shit we came up with. I remember we made a sculpture of a guy, like a wire sculpture of a guy in a bathroom vomiting into a toilet, and it was like, so we sculpted the guy out of wire and we had him like leaning over the toilet, and then we just took a bunch of acrylic paint and like dumped it, so it was just
Yeah.
coming out of the guy into the toilet, and we were like, so, I think the teacher was probably like, oh man, these kids are like too much.
That's funny. And you were just out of high school at that point.
Oh no, this when my friend and I were in these art classes, that
was after high school.
no, we made the guy in the toilet back when I was in like 3rd grade or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, man, if you're in college making
no,
that, come
no,
on,
no.
dude, you
I
gotta get a little.
I still have my bad sense of humor has matured at least a little bit.
Oh, good. Whew.
No, that was.
That's not bad for 3rd grade, but you get into college or even high school level, that might be a little.
No.
Yeah, you gotta get worse than that. That's awesome. So in college, did you work, like, were you that classic college student where having a part-time job and studying and running around like crazy and trying to get your shit done? And
yeah, I was. I did a lot of work study stuff when I was at Pratt, and then when I was in Minnesota, because I moved back to Minnesota after 2 years at Pratt, and I spent a year at community college just because I was like in this weird in between phase, which that was actually like I loved community college.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You were probably working at that point too.
Yeah,
right?
I was working.
Okay. Just odd jobs.
Odd jobs. I think I had a job at like a discount movie theater, so it was like tickets were like
$3.
$3. That job was actually super fun.
That would be fun.
I mean, I made shit money, but like the people I worked with and just it was like almost too casual, But everybody got their work done.
The only time I've ever seen the classic thing where the projector stops and burns through the film was at one of those discount movie places. I just moved to Colorado, and this girl I was seeing, I didn't have any money, so we're like doing this on the cheap, and go to this discount movie thing. And I can't even remember what fucking movie it was, but it was funny. It was, it was playing, and all of a sudden it is classic, and then you could see it, and then it burned out, and then the lights came on. They're like, yeah, we ruined the movie. There's no more movie. You guys got to go. I was like, can we get our money back? He's like, you dude, you paid $1.50.
They're like, we spent it already.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So was it one of those places where it's just
Yeah,
they
I
took
mean,
over and they showed movies that were like 6 months old?
yeah,
and shit like
exactly,
that?
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was, I think the guy, the manager was like I think he had been like a high school science teacher, and I think he just got tired of it, and he was like, I'm gonna go run this movie theater.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, and yeah, it was a lot of like random people. So it was like a lot of high school students because they need like a summer job or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Again, the pay is shit, so you're not getting quality.
Yeah, I think there was another guy who's like an artist. There's a Hare Krishna dude who would like bring. He always brought food to share with people, and it's like cool, man. Like,
yeah. At that point in your life, you're like, I'll eat anything.
yeah.
Especially if it's
It was
free.
like really healthy. He was like, here, eat this. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool. What brought you back to New York then?
I had just been traveling back and forth because after I moved back to Minneapolis, I still had plenty of friends in New York, and New York is a great place to visit. So I would constantly be traveling back and forth, and I think, I reached a point in Minneapolis where it was just like so comfortable, and it's a beautiful city, like really, really honestly a great quality of life if you can stomach like brutal winters.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to do something to challenge myself, and
Get dropped in the middle of Brooklyn. There's
Yeah.
a challenge for you.
yep, and also just I know there are more artistic opportunities and possibilities. There's just more of an artistic economy in New York in general.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
it just seemed like
And
the
in
thing
Brooklyn
to do.
too, more even,
Oh, yeah.
even more concentrated, right?
Definitely.
The 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
You think out of the 5 boroughs, Brooklyn's right up there with that?
I think I would say that Brooklyn probably has the most artists who are making work. I still think a lot of the main galleries are in Manhattan. So like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are tons of galleries in Brooklyn too, but
yeah.
I feel like there are just these old school established
In
art
Manhattan.
galleries in Manhattan. Yeah, that they do a lot of like larger sales, but I mean, there are galleries everywhere.
What have you always had the same type of art, or have you jumped up and down and now you're at a certain point? Like what type of art? When
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
visual arts, that could be holy shit. That could be anything.
Yeah, that's a good question. When I first got into art school, I thought I was going to be a graphic designer, which I've done design work in my time, but I'd say predominantly now I would say my art leans towards illustrations. I work in a variety of mediums, so I do a lot of like drawing, so pencil, pen, and then I'll either color stuff with like colored pencils, but oftentimes I do digital coloring. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with like a pencil sketch or a pen drawing and scan that into my computer and then digitally color it using a like a drawing tablet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like a pressure sensitive pen that you can just like draw the colors in.
No, any certain theme? Because I was thinking like fantasy almost, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like
into that?
I would say fantasy is like a huge influence on the art that I make because I just grew up really into like fantasy and science fiction. But like for the art that I've been making lately, very much fantasy inspired, but for instance, one of the projects I'm working on now.
It skipped on us again.
Cool.
Tarot deck,
yes.
Tarot deck.
Yeah, I recently started working on a tarot deck. So like a lot of the imagery in the tarot deck I'm making, and I think tarot decks in general, it has a lot of overlap with like fantasy themes because it's kind of like this mystical, very like iconic, symbolic language.
And two, it all depends on how the reader vocalizes that. I mean,
totally.
Yeah, you could take that. I mean, you get a death card, you can go in any direction with that.
Right. Yeah, and that's like, so the theme behind this tarot deck, where I'm getting all the imagery is, I've I've been journaling my dreams for I don't know, 2 or 3 years now.
Oh, so when you get up in the morning, you write all that shit down?
Yeah, or at some point during the day. Sometimes I get up in the morning and I'm like, okay, I
Yeah.
gotta.
I'm one of those guys. I never remember my dreams.
Well, what I've found and what I've read from other people is that as you start journaling, you start to remember more and more.
I could see that.
So it kind of like trains your brain to remember stuff. So yeah, my idea was to create a tarot deck based on like the traditional tarot deck of 78 cards. So it's like they're very set cards and like themes to follow.
Right, right.
But find a way to incorporate imagery that I see in my dreams into the cards.
So every out of 78, you're designing each one separately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that might take a day or two. Huh?
Yeah, it's gonna take a little while. Yeah, it's a longer project, but I've started on probably 5 cards now, and it's so cool to see how they change, like how it's almost like the dream I had like fills in the art in a really interesting way. So it's it feels almost like I'm more of like a conduit for these crazy images that are coming through.
Right, right. The question, what just popped in my mind. So you're creating 78 cards. Of course, it's going to take you a timeline. It's going to be, it's going to be quite long.
Yep.
Do you find it difficult to stay to the same theme? Like, so if you create the first couple, and then you get 20 down the road, if you look at the 20th one and the first one, stay into that quote unquote theme.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, each one's different, but they should carry a theme, right?
Yeah. The theme, I think the strongest way it's going to be tied together is that I'm executing each piece in the same way. So I'm using the same medium, same format. I'm starting with really detailed pencil drawing that I'm going to digitally color. So the tools I'm using are always going to be the same.
So, like, do you have a template for each one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
and then
exactly.
you can kind of make it its own, but it's still following the same theme.
Yeah, and like I'm using the same tools, kind of like the same shading techniques. So it even if the images are super different from one another, it will still have like this cohesive flow.
I hope that works. Cool. All right, we're back. Sorry, I had to make a little detour there. Yeah, because I was figuring, even stuff that I do, you get down the road a little bit and you look at the first one, you're like, shit. Well, that's nowhere even close to what I was thinking. Because you keep changing, right? Because every dream's different.
Oh yeah.
But if you start at the same and make each one its own, I can see that. That's cool.
Yeah, and I feel like that. Like I also have drawn comics, and that's one thing I've noticed is that over time, like comparing my original drawings to like drawings maybe a year later, I'm like, wow, this has changed a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think there's almost not a way you can't avoid it, because you're going to change, you're going to learn new skills.
Well, the way you think and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the quality, or I want to say quality, of your drawings is going to be completely different in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was wondering how you kept in the same direction with a project that has such a long timeline.
Yeah. So I'm hoping just sticking to set materials and a set format is going to like really help in creating that cohesive look.
And then you do like 3D art, right?
I do,
you do like molds and...
Yeah, I do a lot of sculpting. Mold making. I've been making...
Is that all over the place, or do you stick to one theme?
The sculpture, I would say it's like very much informed by nature. So I like to do a lot of like plants, animals.
Okay.
Are something that I just gravitate towards. It's interesting because I don't think about it too much, but
you start sculpting and
I just start sculpting, or
That's cool.
I'm like, I'm gonna make a dog, like it can be as simple a thought as that. But I look at a lot of art from like ancient cultures, so ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. Those there's something about the way that they were executing work and the subject matter that was so connected to their
culture and everything else.
yeah,
right?
like their storytelling, their survival in terms of like, if it's an animal and they're, living on animals, it's like these are things that are super important to them. So
Right.
yeah, and I've always really loved nature. So I feel like it's funny. When you ask me that, I realize that I don't think about my subject matter too much. It's more
just what comes to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, looking at some of your art, though, it has a lot of natural nature
Yeah.
theme to it.
Yeah.
And I'll have your website and all that.
Oh,
I'll have it
awesome.
in the show notes so people can check it out. But,
Sweet. Yeah, that'd be great.
So what's you working on anything real big right now?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a.
So somebody's paying you to do that?
Hopefully.
The check ain't cleared yet?
Eventually. Yeah, I mean, I've been I do a mix of like commission work, and then I also work on my own.
Of course, yeah.
My own pieces. So the goal is to have a flow of both and to be selling my own pieces as well. So I'm working on a big handmade lamp. So I make these illuminated sculptures, basically like a big kind of one of a kind. How would I describe it? It looks a bit like a giant vase. So picture like the form of a vase with like, curves out at the sides.
Yep.
It's about 5 feet tall, and I built it. The frame is built out of chicken wire.
Okay.
I've illuminated it from the inside, and then I cover the outside with handmade paper. So it becomes this big lantern, if you can picture that.
Handmade paper.
Yeah, I don't make it myself.
Okay.
I buy
I
it
was
from
gonna
other
say,
people.
I could see you in the kitchen.
No.
Making handmade paper.
I literally bought it from Kathmandu, Nepal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could see handmade made paper. This probably being made the same way paper does, just at a smaller scale,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's really no other way to make paper.
Yeah, I assume you use screens and you spread the pulp out and it dries and you have a
and
sheet.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I found this amazing paper, and if I go to an art store, it costs me like, I don't know, between $2 and $5 a sheet, and I was like, there's got to be a way that I can get this cheaper, I found this
Kathmandu.
Yeah, literally this company in Kathmandu, and they're, really amazing company. They do amazing things for their local community, so they're like giving back to their community and building infrastructure. The plant that they make the paper out of, it's actually a bush, so they're not cutting down trees.
Do they grow that bush and harvest it that way? Kind of like a farm?
Yeah, it's apparently super. It's very low environmental impact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I found this, and I buy in bulk, and I feel like.
How big are the sheets though? So when you buy in bulk, is it a roll or is it like a ream of paper like you get for a printer?
It's like a big stack of sheets. So
how big is it like
20 by 30 inches?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think I ordered like 200 sheets or something from them.
And then do you paint it? Like how do you get a different color with it being lit from, I assume, the inside?
Yeah. So some of them I have painted with like a thin wash of ink to give it a color.
Okay.
But I'm also using some LED lights, which LEDs, it's, what is it? I think it stands for light emitting diode.
Yeah.
So it's different from like an incandescent bulb in the fact that it's a much smaller point of light.
Yeah.
Doesn't burn nearly as hot as a light bulb.
Right.
And they're also they consume way less power. The other awesome thing is that a lot of these LEDs they're built in a way where you can actually change the color of them.
Yep.
So
right from your phone probably.
Yeah, well yeah, and like some of these kits that I'm using, I create this lighting element that I basically put inside my lamp, and you have a remote control, and you can
Change the color.
Change the color, you can change the brightness. I mean, it's like
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So how did you get into using lights? Was that just something you're just...
It was just a total, I had the idea one day, and I think I used, I mean, this was 7-10 years ago. For my first one, I literally used some old Christmas lights, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with some old Christmas
No,
lights
I mean
hanging
it looked great, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and people started seeing them, and they were like, oh, I'd like to order one of those. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, these lanterns, any size? Like, can you get a small one to put like on my coffee table, or
Oh,
are
yeah.
they normally big, like in a lobby of a building?
I've made them all different sizes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but the one that I'm doing right now. It's one of the bigger ones that I've done, and I built a bunch for Brooklyn Industries a couple of years back for
Is that
their
a business in Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's like a clothing shop. It's like a chain of clothing stores in Brooklyn and Manhattan. So
Okay.
they hired me to do lights for their storefront display, for their holiday display.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up making a bunch of lights for them, which was a really fun project. But it was like I made them, and then it was over, and then the lights were done. And I was like, it would be cool to make these in a way where where they're more of a permanent thing. Yeah.
Well, how did you get that job to begin with?
That
Just
job,
like the old school, you knew somebody and got connected, or somebody like walk by and say,
kind of. It was
Okay.
it was actually I applied at Brooklyn Industries for a graphic design job,
Okay.
which I didn't end up getting, but then a year later or something, the lady called me up, and because I showed my portfolio to them as part of the application process for the graphic design
"Oh,
position.
no shit!" She remembered you a
Yeah,
year
yeah,
later.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and she was
Must
like,
have made a pretty good impact for remember a year later.
yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool though.
So the one you're building now is not sold yet. I mean,
It's not sold yet. It's I haven't finished it yet, but it's with this one I'm doing a lot more painting on the surface. So painting in ink, and then I'm also adding a lot of like gilded designs. So
Okay.
gilding is basically when you paint a design. So you could for this one I'm painting like flowers and leaves.
Okay.
So I paint that with an adhesive, and then I take a really thin sheet of gold foil, and you basically
Press it on.
stick it to the adhesive, and you can take a paintbrush and you brush it, and it just leaves foil on the adhesive parts. So you end up with basically like a design that is in whatever metallic foil you use.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, you said you build it out of chicken wire.
Yeah.
So when the light from the inside, do you still see the chicken wire?
Yep. You see some of the chicken wire. You
Is
also
that part of the design to see some of the chicken wire?
I've kind of wondered, I've definitely wondered, is that getting in the way of things? But it kind of blends into the paper, and it just becomes this other background texture.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, because the paper I use, it's not like clean white paper. It's kind of chunky and full of fibers.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It adds to it, right?
Yeah.
You want that effect.
I like it a lot. It feels very natural.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you put that stuff on your website, and hopefully somebody sees it and says, "Put that in my lobby, and this is how much I'll pay you."
Yeah.
nice.
Fingers crossed.
Well, good luck, dude. Good luck.
Thank you.
So that's what you're working on now,
Yep.
and then obviously you have a full-time job,
Yeah.
Squarespace,
Yep.
right? You work from home, and what do you do? What else you do?
What else do I do?
You a workout kind of guy?
Yeah. I love to run. That's one of the really nice things about working remotely is that almost, I would say 4 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week, I get a run in over lunch, which is
Oh, I guess that's pretty neat. You work during the in the morning, put your stuff down. How far do you run? How long do you go?
I've been doing a 3.2 mile run over lunch.
20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, which
Then
is
how fast you go?
Yep, and it depends on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Depending on how much French roast or French press you got in you, right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I'll do my run, and then I usually try and do sit-ups and pull-ups.
Oh, body weight exercises are amazing. The guys at my gym give me shit all the time. They're like, when you can start lifting weights, and obviously I sling a lot of iron, but I do a lot of body exercises, push-ups and pull-ups.
Yeah, I've recently
amazing.
I've recently like implemented those into my routine because I'm like I could run and like bike pretty fast, but my upper arm strength. I used to do like a lot of like freelance fabrication work and also worked as a server. So back then I had pretty good, decent upper arm strength, but now I'm like, oh man, I'm soft.
An art, I'll call it, that a lot of people, I don't see a lot of people doing nowadays. I imagine a ton of people do. I do every day at the gym, 5-6 days a week, is jump rope.
Oh, cool.
And you could do that in your apartment.
Yeah.
What it does for your cardio, obviously, it doesn't bang on your joints because you're landed on the balls of your feet, right?
Yeah.
And then what it'll do for your shoulders.
Wow.
Get a weighted jump rope.
I had
Don't
no idea.
get a speed rope. Get a weighted jump rope.
Okay.
And there's a difference.
I'm not gonna. I have a pretty low ceiling, so I
Oh,
might have to like go. I can do it outside.
Yeah, take it like, because what I do is I'll do like leg day, or not even like, just say back day. I'll do 3 back exercises.
Yeah.
I'll come over and I'll jump rope as long as I can, and how I'm feeling, coordination and all that, till I fuck up. I'll drop down, do 20 push-ups, and then I'll go back, do another set of 3 exercises of back, and I'll repeat until I'm done.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, like what I was saying, if you're out running, just stop and jump rope for a minute.
Yeah.
Just change it up and drop down, do 20 push-ups, and start running again.
God, that's a great idea because my run takes me through the park, so it's like perfect spot.
Perfect. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Weighted jump rope.
A weighted jump rope. The one I like, I don't know the fucking brand or whatever. I bought it for $19 at Dick's Sporting Goods. And you can tell when you look at it, the rope itself is almost as thick as a pen.
Oh, okay.
So when you start flipping
it takes some work to...
Yeah, you can tell, because a buddy of mine at the gym's like, can I borrow your rope? I'm like, fuck, dude. Because at the gym, I'll jump rope, and then I'll just drop it on the ground, and I'll go do some exercise. And I see people using it, which is great. Fuck,
yeah.
That's what it's for, And he's like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, what? And he's like, that's heavy. I'm like, it's supposed to be. I don't like a speed rope. I'd rather do it. But I go pretty fast with the weighted one as well.
Okay.
And, of course, you got Rocky soundtrack playing in your headphones. This is natural, right?
Of course. I mean, that just plays in my head all the time anyway.
Yeah,
so.
You're right. But do you run like down the sidewalk and shit through Brooklyn? Isn't that a pain in the ass?
I've
Scenery's pretty good though.
Scenery's good.
Yeah.
But I did manage to find a route that's like, I live really close to the Greenwood Cemetery, which is
Isn't that a big famous cemetery?
Yeah, it's a cemetery that basically runs parallel to Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and I feel like
you can't run in it. Though,
you can't run in it, but I run parallel to it. I run right alongside of it.
Oh, okay.
And it's just. It happens to be an area of Brooklyn that does not have much traffic. There's like
what? That's kind of like a oxymoron.
I mean,
not a lot of foot traffic in Brooklyn.
It's bizarre. Like I'll run and I'll maybe pass like 2 or 3 pedestrians on this one long stretch.
Right.
Because it's sandwiched between the Greenwood Cemetery and Prospect Park. Unless
the stretch that you're running on, it's sandwiched there. Unless you really know about it.
Yeah, or unless you like need to do something in that weird little chunk of land.
Right.
You don't really have a reason for cutting through there. Yeah.
Is that you ever watch what's it with Kevin Spacey? The political show, House of Cards.
Oh no, I haven't watched it.
You ever watch that? You haven't ever watched that?
No.
His wife was like running for a while, and they're making it all dramatic, like she's trying to run from something, and she's using exercise, whatever it was. But she was running through a park, and I wonder if that was the park, because then somebody was like yelling at her saying you can't run through here, and then they posted a big sign that says no exercising or whatever. Is there a sign there that says you can't run, or do you just know you can't run? It's kind of a known thing.
If you enter the gate And like I've walked home through the cemetery after a workout, so I'm in my like running outfit, and without fail the guard will be like, you can't run in here, and I'm like, yep, I'm just like doing my cool off, I'm walking home.
Oh, no shit. So they got guards in there that
Oh, yeah.
track people down and
Yeah. Although
probably keep down vandalism too, imagine.
yeah, I mean they close it at night, and they have like they have threatening signs that say something like this.
$250,000 fine and 10 years in prison.
No, they're like this area is patrolled by armed guards and dogs.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But I did go on a date with a gal who, it was like, what was it? I think there was like some marathon thing going on. They had some streets blocked off, and she said it was the one time in the history of the Greenwood.
All right, Garden of Greenwood Cemetery.
Yeah. It just happened to be like the one day that there was some weird exception that let people run through the cemetery. But he was like, "This isn't going to happen normally. You can't normally."
Because somebody will run through there once and then come back and be like, "I did this last week. How come I can't do it this week?"
Of course.
Yeah. So, and then what do you run through the park? So you run through the park down the street and kind of walk through the cemetery just for
Sometimes I'll cut back through.
and cool down?
Sometimes I'll cut back through the cemetery. But most days I'll run right alongside the cemetery and then cut over to Prospect Park and do like a little sprint through that and then come back.
And then do you live in a classic like 3-story walk up in Brooklyn? Like,
Yep. I'm a garden level though, so
what's
walk
garden
down. It's like half.
So garden level is below the street?
Yeah, it's like halfway below the street. So if I'm standing in my apartment, the street hits me at my kind of like waist, basically.
So you just see a bunch of legs walking by your window.
Yeah, and if I have my window open and I'm watching TV, people can just stick their head in and see what's going on.
You ever have that happen?
No.
Oh,
Although
I figured some weirdo would be like, "Hey, what are you watching?"
No, I do get the like person rifling through the recycling every now and again. But
how big is your apartment?
I have a bedroom, and then I actually have a little extra space for my art studio, which is awesome.
Oh, so your studio, that's what I was wondering, is your studio is in your apartment?
Yep.
You don't have like a separate space and you go to?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't
like that idea?
Yeah, definitely. Eventually, kind of like the long-term goal is to have some kind of living space where I have a full studio and kind of like workbench shop almost.
Would it be one of those classic looks of you live in an old abandoned warehouse and you go up the elevator, the old freight elevator,
Yeah.
you get up there and you live in half and your studio's in half?
That's definitely, that's definitely been a dream. That's one of them. But I could also see like something like something closer to nature where I have, like
a barn in the back or something?
Yeah.
So,
either way.
So you don't see yourself being in the city forever? You'll move out of the city to...
I honestly don't know at this point.
Not even thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I feel
cool.
I feel like I could be happy. I do know that I need to make spending time in nature more of a priority in my life. Just
It's
because
in our DNA to do that.
Yeah.
Concrete walls and sidewalks we're not built for that.
Right. I mean, they do allow us like a lot of different luxuries and
Absolutely.
conveniences,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
that's something that I think I've come to realize how important that is to me after living in New York for 5 years. That's one thing that is different from Minneapolis to New York is that there's just there's more access to green space in Minneapolis.
Yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
also, if you want to get out of the city, you get in a car and you can be like in the country in, like a half an hour.
Well, you got in the country in a half an hour, but by subway and bus and,
That's true.
and an Uber, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
ended up in an Uber.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So do you spend a lot of time in subway?
I mean, since I stopped commuting.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
But
now you're working at home. Right?
Honestly, before then I wasn't. I mean, I would take the subway occasionally, but I was commuting by bike from Brooklyn to Manhattan. So.
Oh man, how like a city bike or do you have your own bike?
My own bike.
I always thought that'd be just fucking nuts trying to ride
Yeah,
through there.
it was a little. It was
Little
hairy.
You-
It was hairy.
No accidents or anything?
No accidents.
That's my production assistant, Thelma.
Oh, she's very beautiful.
Yeah, she's a good
I hope
kitty.
you don't mind me
She
saying.
doesn't do anything productive around here, but she collects on a W-2. I tried to write her off on my taxes, but yeah, oh well.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subway though.
Yeah.
Any crazy stories from the Subway?
Yeah. I feel like I don't. There are times that I've thought that like there's some like weird perfume on me that attracts like slight craziness.
Well, that could
I'm
be
not
a
really, but
that could be a benefit sometimes.
I mean, let me. Okay, so
You got to clarify that one.
yeah. So there was one morning sitting there, packed train. You know, it's like morning rush hour. Everybody's commuting, and I'm in that kind of like half awake, just kind of like.
Just give me to work.
Yeah, just everybody leave me alone. I'm, I have my eyes half closed, kind of and this is a car that is full of people. Okay, so I'm sitting next to someone. There are people behind me, and I feel something touch the back of my head, and I turned around, and there's like this old woman, and she's like reached out, and she's touching my head, and I was like.
What the fuck?
I was like, what? and there's a girl sitting next to me, and she's like looking horrified
At the woman or
yeah.
you?
She's like, she was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And then the woman kind of saw me, and she like pulled her hand back, and I was just like, okay, cool.
No shit.
I was like, okay, this happened, whatever. I mean, it was like, I'm not gonna be like berate her,
Yeah,
I think she was probably like
a little.
yeah, but I was like,
That's interesting.
Interesting way to start the morning.
You ever what about those performers? You ever been on the subway late at night and hey, I'm short $12.84 and
Yeah.
they always come up with some weird dollar amount, right?
Yeah, it's always really specific. There's this one guy who I see on the train near my house. He's actually I heard about him from my friends who live in my neighborhood multiple times before I actually saw this guy.
Oh, he's like a normal.
He's
or
like
not, like a.
He's a regular.
Regular, sorry, thank you.
But he's really he's almost like a celebrity because this guy is huge, super tall, just like really big dude.
Fat or muscular?
Like both, but more fat. He honestly and he dresses in like this brown. He almost looks like he's dressed like a monk or something with like this big brown kind of coat thing and then like a rope. He reminds me a little bit of Andre the Giant in Princess Bride.
Okay,
picture
all right.
that.
Yeah. I do get that reference.
Yeah, but anyway, he'll walk into the car and he'll be like, he's this big dude, has a lot of presence, and he's got this big voice, and he's like, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you can spare a penny or a dime for this sad, depressive man." And he has
shit.
And he like sings it, and it's just like
bellowing that big old voice.
Yeah, and it was when I first saw him after hearing about him so much, I was like. I felt like I was seeing a celebrity,
Yeah.
But
Did you
he's
give him any money?
Oh yeah, that guy's great. I love. There's something about him that feels like. I don't know. It feels almost like he's like holy in a weird way, where I'm just like, this guy is.
Hey, he's working it.
Yeah, he's like somehow magical.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So my question, I'm getting to ask everybody that's spends a lot of time on the subway.
Yeah.
How many batteries have you bought?
Batteries?
Yeah, don't you get the guys that come in selling batteries or candy?
Oh, I've gotten candy.
Candy?
Candy.
Okay.
No batteries.
I guess they're going away from the batteries and going to candy instead.
Yeah.
That's probably
yeah.
Got to evolve. Business got to evolve, maybe.
Yep.
Got to make changes.
There's some kids who like collect money for their sports teams. I don't know if they actually have
Quote,
sports.
unquote,
Yeah,
sports team.
they have a piece of paper, so it looks
This
official.
is for my sports team, but
I'm like,
I made this at the computer shop down the street.
yeah, I'm like, well,
Found
whatever.
a logo online. Hey, this looks fun.
Yeah, but I mean, they're working. Like,
Yeah,
what they're doing takes effort. So it's like,
How about the
okay.
guys or the ladies that do like the gymnastics and stuff, like on the bars, and they bring like music and.
I've seen some like breakdancing where they do like multiple guys are doing like gymnastic breakdance moves in the aisles and using the bars, and that's always like that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's just so precise.
Just talented.
Yeah, and like you got to be really sure of yourself because like if you're on a train full of people and you mess up, you're gonna like kick someone in the face.
Right. Well, the other thing too is they don't get that way overnight. They've been doing that a while.
Yeah.
And they
I'm
practice
sure.
that, so they put the work in. You
Yeah.
gotta give them the credit where credit is due. There's talent can only carry you so far, but you got to practice it.
That's very
so
true.
they're putting the work in.
And they're definitely like putting in like the physical time because those
Yeah.
guys are like in very good shape.
How about violence on the subway? Anything there?
I don't think I'm
Or stolen? Anything stolen from you?
no, I'm lucky enough. You kind of get to have a nose for it, Like there are times when
Oh yeah, but you've been living there so long. It's second nature to deal with that, right?
yeah.
I mean,
Well, this isn't happening on the subway, but this was like when I first moved back to New York, so maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I went on a Tinder date with this gal, and
so you swiped right?
I swiped right, and we had a nice date, and then we were outside this bar, and I think we were just like making out a little bit outside this bar, and some dude walked by and he just pushed me. It's like.
Seriously?
Come on, man.
Just because you're not making out with her, you
yeah.
can't be mad at me for that.
Ultimate cock block. I was like, thanks, man.
Oh, did it shut it down?
Totally.
Ah, motherfucker, that ain't cool.
Yeah, I was like,
He got what he wanted, though. I bet
Yeah.
you that's what he was trying to do.
I don't know. Maybe he saved me from like a terrible relationship or something.
That's a good way to look at
He's
it.
like a guardian angel.
Yeah. He's like, I see something like, what's that fucking movie, Glass?
I haven't
You
seen
see
it.
that where
No.
Bruce Willis, if he touches you, he can tell if you're evil or not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
So
like
he
that.
like saw her something evil, and he's like, "Dude, I'm saving you." Boop.
Okay,
blowing you up.
that's
Go with that. Go with
that's
that.
what I'm rewriting history.
Not
now,
that
so.
you didn't get laid; that you saved you from a lot of trouble.
Yep.
Perfect. I'd
Thank-
rather
thank
have
you,
the
man.
ladder on that. Whew. Man, you smell that? My wife's cooking.
I just smell the sage now.
Oh, I just got a whiff of the food coming in from the kitchen. I don't know. Here we are.
Oh wait. I think I got it now.
Well, you're a cook, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
like cooking?
I do.
Is it tough cooking for one?
Yeah. No. I mean, I will cook myself really like basic stuff most of the time.
Right.
But then occasionally I'll just like go all out and make myself something really elaborate.
Are you like a leftovers guy where you say, oh, I'm going to cook a bunch of shit on Sunday and eat off it all week?
Yeah, I do that. I do that some of the time. But sometimes I'm like happy to eat really basic stuff. Like I eat a lot
Keep
of
it simple,
fresh
huh?
fruits,
Right,
steam
right.
some vegetables, cook some eggs,
Oh, big fan of eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs and chicken. That's a staple of my diet.
Yes, eggs and chicken, seriously. And baked chicken, I mean, that's like zero effort,
My favorite chicken is chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast. I cut it, slice them up in like chicken fingers almost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deep fry them, but I put a pretty thick layer of butter in the pan and put the lid on it and let them put it low heat
Oh man.
and just let them basically boil in butter.
Oh,
It's just amazing.
I'm going to have to try that.
It's amazing. Yep.
So-
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, not originally being from the East Coast, I discovered Old Bay in the last.
Old Bay.
Yeah, it's like a spice. I think it's from Maine.
Oh, Old Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Whew,
put on
man,
seafood and stuff.
Oh man, that was way back from when growing up.
Yeah. So
'cause I grew up in New York. So
I was like, what is this spice? But like, I'm just like, that's my thing now. So Old Bay on the chicken, Old Bay on popcorn, actually.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
You ever
So
been to
good.
Red Robin's,
No.
the restaurant?
No.
The bottle of spices they have it. They're like Red Robin brand.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a normal thing to steal that thing off the table. It's super good, and it goes great on popcorn as well. That's
Oh,
what made me
nice.
think of it. Yeah, but that's kind of an all-around spice. that
Yeah.
you can- it's super good.
That's cool.
Yeah, Red Robin's pretty good though. For I wouldn't say it's not far from a fast food chain, but just one of those. I wrap it in there with like TGIF and
Oh, yeah.
just a quick sit down dinner.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard the name before, but I don't think
There's
I've ever
none
walked
in New York,
by one.
huh?
I don't know. I haven't
There's
seen
some out
them.
here, but they're big like in malls, and
Okay.
so maybe out in Minnesota you'd have them.
I think we got what do we have? Perkins.
Oh God, I remember Perkins. Holy cow! Now you're going back.
Yep.
Was that the big chain out there?
Yeah, Perkins. That was like the diner. There
was
was
a diner,
there was a
yeah.
there was a Perkins. So after I finished, after I went to regular high school and moved to this arts magnet high school that I was telling you about,
Yep.
right across the street was Perkins that was open. I think it was open like 24 hours or something crazy like
You get
that.
pancakes anytime, and
Well, yeah. Well, it was basically just a place for angsty high school students to go and drink endless cups of coffee and chain smoke because you could smoke there.
it,
Yeah. So that was a popular spot. I didn't hang out there too much, but
What? Perkins? Wow. I think there's still some around here.
it was like decent food, you know?
Well, I think when I was in my early 20s, anything was decent food.
Yeah.
I think it's changed now. I believe that the less ingredients, the better.
Yeah.
The simpler, the better.
Yep.
I'm a
Less
big fan.
processed.
Yeah, or just a few things. If you're making like a big dish of something, don't add a lot of spices and all that. That
Yeah.
might be your thing, but I'm more of simple. Like
Yeah.
my lunches are chicken, some vegetables, and some kind of carby something. I like some kind of cracker of some kind, a few of those.
Sure.
And then it's fruits, vegetables, and chicken. That's
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
an energy drink. But, that's all good.
That's your dessert.
Yeah, exactly. Got to have a vice somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This was
Yeah.
great.
All right, then. We'll catch you. As always, thanks for listening, and the support I've been getting lately is incredible. So thank you, everybody, for reaching out with comments, phone calls, and texts that I've been getting. And I am always looking for guests. What I hear from people is, I don't know what to talk about. I don't have anything interesting to say. Well, as you see, if you've been listening to my podcast for a while, I've had people on that aren't rock stars, aren't movie stars, aren't what we consider in today's society extraordinary people. These are all extraordinary people, and I love speaking with them and hearing what they have to say about what their life is about, the experiences they've had, etc. So if you want to come on, just reach out. Love to have you. Thanks again for listening.